What's up guys, Adrian Jr. here with Cincinnati Outdoors, and a lot of you guys have been asking for an update on my rod arsenal right here, so I'm going to give you guys my 5 rods that I'll bring no matter what on any bass fishing tournament I'm going on. And if you guys aren't already subscribed, go ahead and click the subscribe button because we're going on a bunch of hunting and fishing trips. We try to post weekly outdoor videos. And if you guys are experienced bass fishermen, you guys probably already know all this stuff, but maybe I have a couple little tips or tricks that I can even teach you guys, or if you guys see anything you guys can give me advice on, you guys can comment it down below to help me out. So the first thing I want to kind of break down is a lot of people, don't believe in all these different rods and stuff. Each one of my rods and reels and setups, line, everything has its own purpose and use on your boat or on the shore or anything. And a lot of people, including myself a couple years ago, had this belief that 1 or 2 rods can consistently catch you a ton of fish, and you're doing really good with that. But I guarantee you guys that if you guys kind of listen through this, and I'm just gonna kind of break it down a little bit, that you guys will catch better fish and more fish. Because I was in that same boat to where I had like 1 or 2 rods, and I was catching a couple fish here and there, and thinking I was catching them on a high level. But I started fishing tournaments and everything, and I'm going on these people's boats, and they're consistently just putting big fish in the boat and numbers of fish over and over and over again. So I kind of started to listen to them and slowly grow, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit of what I've learned. Hopefully this will help you guys kind of save money and everything in the long run. So if you guys are just getting into bass fishing or whatever it is, maybe your budget isn't very big, or you're just kind of scared to put a big investment in a lot of rods and stuff, there's one rod, like one setup that I would recommend. Just to kind of get the hang of it, your first bait caster. It might be your first bait caster, it might just be your first kind of all-around rod you can use for a lot of stuff. I would just recommend, really any medium heavy rod about the 7-foot range. And this is a 7-101 reel. That usually works pretty good, and I usually would recommend, mono if it's your first bait caster, maybe around the 12-pound test area, because it's easier to get backlashes out and stuff. But slowly upgrade to fluorocarbon when you can, because your hookup ratio will get a lot better than that. But this one is great for me and great for a lot of people just to start out with, because this 7-foot medium heavy rod, you can do a whole variety of stuff with it, anywhere from topwater to swim baits, so, like smaller swim baits like this, to jigs, to spinner baits. It'll work for pretty much everything. Now I'm using it mainly for topwater. I've got 15-pound monofilament on it. I'm just fishing spooks and stuff with it and buzz baits, but that's what I'm using for it now. So I showed you guys my very first bait caster and the whole setup ever. So now I'm going to show you guys kind of where it fits in my whole arsenal here, and just kind of all of the rods now. So this one is my main using rod now. I use this one the most. Once again, it's a 7-1 medium heavy, so you guys can see the same pattern there. It's a very versatile rod. So what a medium heavy is, that means that it's like kind of in the mid-range of its strength wise. It's not completely flimsy, and it's not like a what you call a broomstick. So this one is great for jigs and stuff. It kind of has a little bit of a backbone to where you can really power those fish and get a good solid hook set in them. This is an 8:1 gear ratio, 13 fishing, Concept C, with their Omen Black 2. I believe this is the Omen Black 2 right here. And this is just a all-around great setup for me. I'm running 12-pound cigar fluorocarbon on it. It's the low memory version of it. It doesn't refract light or reflect light at all in water, so it's completely invisible to the fish, all types of fluorocarbon. And I'm mainly using this one for jigs and like Texas rigs and stuff, in Lake Mead and clear water situations. And I put a lot of fish in the boat with this rod, and I love it so far. So this one, I love fishing jigs and stuff. This one right here gets me a long way in my tournaments. So my next rod right here I'm going to get into is kind of like my jerkbait slash like smaller crankbait kind of rod right here. This is another 13 fishing. It's 7-1 also, I believe. I think it's 7-1. It's also an Omen Black 2. It's actually their crankbait casting rod. This one's made for crankbaits. It's a 13 fishing, Concept A. This is a 6-3-1 right here. It's the same company. I love this company, but this rod is great also. As you guys can see, I got a little KVD by Strike King. This is a little jerkbait right here. You can fish little crankbaits and jerkbaits and stuff. This crankbait rod's made in a moderate action, and that means it's kind of on the flimsier side. But the reason why you want that is because when you're fishing stuff like crankbaits, versus if you were to have a medium heavy rod with a little bit more of a backbone, you might rip those crankbaits out of the fish's mouth. With this, you don't really set the hook when you're fishing with treble hooks and stuff. You just kind of let the rod load up, and they hook themselves most of the time. So that's why you use that. And usually you like a slower gear ratio for your crankbaits and your jerkbaits and stuff, but so you're not fishing them too quick. But other than that, this rod's also great. I've put a lot of fish in the boat with jerkbaits and stuff like this. This setup would catch you a lot of fish if you use it in clear water. I'm running 12-pound Seaguar fluorocarbon on also. So this is another rod I got right here. This one, it's a 7.6 medium heavy. It's another Abu Garcia setup right here. I'm running 15-pound Seaguar fluorocarbon on it. And this rod, every company, when you start getting into like bigger rods and stuff, even the length distance can make a difference. So this rod, I'll tell you right now, even though it's a medium heavy, it has a lot more backbone than my 13 fishing medium heavy, but it's also got 5 more inches on the rod. So this one's got a lot more backbone on it. I can fish jigs with this thing, Carolina rigs, Texas rigs. It can kind of just punch and power through weeds and stuff a little bit better than the other one can. So this one, with that extra backbone, you can fish deeper too, and you can rip fish really good with it. But then again, it won't be good for your crankbaits and your jerkbaits and stuff. You can make it work, but I'll tell you that rod will do a whole lot better at it. And this one I've also found I really like using this rod also for spinnerbaits. This one is another. This one's a 7:1:1 gear ratio spool. Reel right here, 7:1:1 gear ratio reel, and that little bit faster gear ratio is helping me with my spinnerbaits and everything. But this rod right here, I've been loving to use for spinnerbaits and stuff like that. And it's put a lot of fish in the boat with the spinnerbaits, and I've been able to just plow through weeds a little bit better when I find myself in those thicker situations. But this right here, I've already mentioned this rod before, but nowadays I'm using it for my topwater baits and stuff. I already mentioned this one. It's my other Abu Garcia setup, my very first one ever. And you guys don't need to drop like a ton of money on gear. As you guys can see, this is my first setup. This one wasn't very expensive, and it's still in my boat today. And right now I have a swim bait tied on it. That works, but it has mono. I would only fish the swim bait. I mainly fish mono in like dirty water if I would. Mono, though, the reason why it works really good for topwater, that's why I have on my topwater rod, is mono will float to a point. Fluorocarbon just sinks most of the time. Monofilament will actually float a little bit, and it helps you just keep your topwaters above water, because I fished topwaters with fluorocarbon before, and it'll bring like your spooks underwater a lot of the times, and mono will just help you keep it up. But this rod, once again, is all around great rod for everything, and it's just staying in my boat today to this day for topwater and stuff. So right now I'm getting into my finesse category. You can have a lot of people really love finesse, and they'll have a bunch of different rods and reels, but this one, I'm getting away with it now. Every once in a while I'll bring another spinning rod or whatever into the equation just to have another one. But this one is a Shimano. This is a whole Shimano setup right here. I just love this whole setup right here. I got 10-pound spider wire braid as my backing, and I've got probably like a 10-foot, I would say, liter of 8-pound Seaguar fluorocarbon. You need that fluorocarbon just to be a little bit more finesse style. The fish can't see it, they won't suspect nothing's going on. So these finesse rods, a lot of people might ask, why would you need a spinning reel for your finesse and lighter line and stuff? Well, a lot of times when you're fishing finesse, you're fishing smaller baits. They got less weight behind them and stuff. And I'll tell you, it's 1,000 times easier to cast a really light item with a spinning reel than it is a bait casting reel. You'll get a ton of backlashes with those unless it's specifically made for that. But this will just make it 1,000 times easier. And with this lighter line, it just makes it harder for those fish to see it, and it makes it a lot easier to cast through these things also with those lighter lures and stuff. It's a medium power, fast action rod right here. I'm just loving this rod. It's one of my newer setups, and I'm catching a lot of fish with it. I can fish everything from drop shots to maybe like Ned rigs to just a weightless like wacky worm Senko or something, and this thing's putting a lot of fish in the boat. Just the whole Shimano makes some really light gear. This thing does not fatigue your arms at all after a whole day of bass fishing, and with this fluorocarbon, it doesn't reflect light or anything, so it's completely invisible to the fish. And these things, they just completely work well. And the reason why I use a 10-pound braid backing is because on a spinning reel in particular, if you were just to fill the whole spool with fluorocarbon or anything like even monofilament, when you cast, a lot of the times you'll get like those line twists in your rod or whatever when you cast, and it comes back with this big old knot, and you gotta take that part and a lot of times cut it. Well, braid has no memory at all, and that just works great for your backing because it won't get those line twists or anything, and that's why I only throw probably 10-foot liter of fluorocarbon on it. so you don't have to worry about going through all those spools really quick, versus like a bait caster. Bait casters, you don't really have to worry about it as much. But these things, I mean, if you're fishing really clear water, deep, you can see really far and stuff, you guys definitely have to have a finesse rod in your boat. So this is kind of my little setup here, my little arsenal I bring on the boat all the time. This whole thing costs probably $1,500 with line and rods and reels and everything here. And if you guys maybe are fishing tournaments or anything, you guys don't have to get this serious with your setups or anything. I'm still planning on growing and getting better, and I'll keep you guys updated as I do that and kind of improve a little bit. But alrighty guys, you guys can kind of pick, you know, the setups. If you're just like maybe not as serious of a bass fisherman, you just want to go out and catch some fish, have a good time, you guys can get a perfectly fine setup for like $150 or whatever, and put a lot of fish in the boat or even on the shore or edge or wherever you're fishing with it. But also, I'm getting into swim baiting a lot right now, and as you guys know, I love 13 fishing rods and reels and stuff. I've just decided to get their new 13 Fishing Concept A3 right here. This is one of their new swim bait reels, and I'm just getting into swim baiting a lot. So I'm going to keep this a bass fishing video. If you guys want to see more of my swim bait arsenal, it's kind of growing a little bit now. I'll put a video on that also. But other than that, I mean, you'll never stop learning when it comes to bass fishing. There's so much you can learn in the whole. Just when it comes to everything, tournament fishing, you know, how to catch fish and all this different stuff. So if you guys want me to kind of keep you guys updated and kind of teach you guys as I go along, go ahead and comment that down below, because I found in a lot of my videos now I'm just starting to catch the fish, not really give you guys advice. So a lot of you guys who are just starting out are starting to comment, you know, how you catching these fish or anything. So I'm thinking I'm going to start bringing it back to the basics and start showing you guys a little bit of what I have learned over the time I've been doing the YouTube channel and stuff. But once again, if you guys just have any comments or questions, suggestions, anything, go ahead, comment down below. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video. Go ahead, comment if you want to see some more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you outdoors.